Good afternoon. We are going to call the Hood River White Salmon Bridge Authority to order at 2 o'clock on 27th, 2025. We have Commissioner Fox is going to be here shortly. In the room, we have Commissioner Babbitts, Commissioner Paulson, and alternate Edwards. I do not see anyone else online. On the Washington side, we have Commissioners Anderson, Wilson, Gibson is absent so far. We have alternate Fleming and alternate Berger are both in present. Are there any modifications or additions to the agenda?
Catherine just got on.
Let the record show alternate Thomas is present as well. Hearing no changes to the agenda, we will move on to the approval of the board minutes of September 22nd, 2025.
Move to approve the minutes from September 22nd.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Public comment. 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone who would like to provide public comment in the room? Online. This is going to be a quick meeting if we keep going at this pace. With that, we will close public comment. Our goal is to get done before Mike shows up. Makes the meeting go 5 times as long. Co-chairs report. With that said, I will skip my co-chairs report. Our project director is not here as well, so we can skip that as well for the time being. We will move on to government relations. Glad someone is here.
Wonderful. And I'll keep on with the spirit of the meeting thus far. For the record, my name is Dan Marr. I handle public affairs for the bridge project. For government relations report, first, the federal government remains shut down. We're on day 27 here. So we've been through a federal pay period. Federal employees have missed their paychecks. However, Congress is no closer to a deal either to pass the 12 appropriation bills or a short-term funding fix. So the House of Representatives has passed a clean continuing resolution. The Senate needs 60 votes to pass that to reopen the government temporarily, but they've been unable to get that 60 votes to close debate. Relevant to our work, I think Mike could say a little more about this, or Christy if she's here, but I know we're waiting on the U.S. Army Corps for the next move in our record of decision. And so they had stayed open for a couple of weeks after the government shut down. They had some reserves that they were spending through, but to my understanding, they've spent through those and they are now mostly shut down as well. On the state side, a little bit of action there. The Oregon legislature passed a transportation funding package in its September short session. The governor has not signed that bill yet. She has until November 12th to do so, and will probably take that long to sign the bill. There's been a campaign stood up to refer some of those funding mechanisms to the ballot. And so they have to qualify for the ballot by collecting so many ballot signatures. That work can't start until the governor signs the bill. And so conventional wisdom believes she will wait till the last minute to sign that bill. And then the recall campaign will start collecting signatures at that point. They'll have around 30 or 40 days to collect, I think, 78,000 signatures to qualify for the November 2026 ballot. And if they do qualify for the ballot, that puts a stay on those funding mechanisms until the measure is heard by the voters. So certainly casts some uncertainty on the status of ODOT's funding in the next calendar year.
Can you clarify though that the way that would be, it would have no impact on our funds?
Correct.
Thank you.
That's right. Our funds are completely separate through the lottery bonding process, but great question.
Spirit out loud.
One other news from the Oregon side, we have a new state senator as of last week. So our former state senator, Daniel Bonham, resigned to take a job in the Trump administration. And last week, Christine Drazen was appointed to fill that role. So Christine will be our senator in the upcoming short legislative session. Interesting timing, because this morning she also announced that she'll be running for governor in 2026.
So you're saying we don't have a good chance to get in front of her or sit down anytime soon? Sounds like she's going to be a bit busy.
I asked this question, I asked her this question. I was part of a group. We had Hood River, Clackamas, Multnomah, and Wasco counties were involved in making this election. And so we were able to ask her questions, and I asked her the specific question of, given rumors that you're planning to run for governor, can you allay our fears that you won't have time to focus on our issues? And she insisted that she would.
Great.
So
Great.
we can,
Allayed,
Contact
fears
her.
allayed.
the point is, she made that statement and I take great face value, and I think we should communicate with her.
We'll be reaching out through our lobbyists.
Great. Okay.
Wonderful.
Anything else?
That's the government relations report.
Any questions for government relations?
So the federal reimbursements, we currently still have some federal reimbursements going on, right? Are those held in advance? What happens when we put in requesting something that's a reimbursement based grant that we have with the federal government?
So I can answer that question. So luckily, we got reimbursed for raise grant last week. Actually, it was October 15th that we got the long outstanding invoices get reimbursed. So our understanding is the FHWA folks working on that program is outside of this the shutdown. They are using some what do they call it, Federal Highway Trust Fund. So it is not impacted by this shutdown, and they have been working.
That's right. Yeah. Most US DOT functions are paid through the Highway Trust Fund, so not subject to congressional appropriations.
Right. So I would understand the funds aren't subject to congressional appropriation, but the personnel who disperse the funds.
Yep. It has happened. So he's working. We got reimbursed
So
for.
we know that they're continuing so far, but do we know that's going to continue?
Yes.
I believe that should be the case.
Yeah.
So that, and even like the GAO and people like that who have to be available to audit things like that, you know. I know I involved with some fire service reimbursements and know that those are halted.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a little beyond my depth, but I can ask our federal lobbyist if there's anything to be concerned about.
I guess, yeah, the question is there risk that, you know, if
Well, we're not
Everyone's becomes-
drawing down on IMPRA yet, so that would be the big risk. We don't have a lot that we're drawing down on the federal right now.
No.
And so the issue is more the timelines.
it's the end of the race.
No, it's not the end of the race. It's a middle of the race.
Right.
We still have another grant that's built 20 grant, which is outstanding. But it's a small amount compared to what we had drawn from the Oregon fund. And then
So from a cash flow point of view, we're not, it sounds like you're not particularly worried.
we are rarely, small amount of the reimbursement is coming from federal as of now. It's a majority of the fundings are from Washington and Oregon.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you.
So keep an eye on it next month.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to our partner updates. Is there anyone from Federal Highways or ODOT or WashDOT online who would like to give us an update? Not seeing any. Oh,
I don't have any update.
all right. Thank you, sir. Okay, we will move on to the consent agenda. You have the invoice approval. I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve the invoices.
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? signify-
Quick question. Am I voting? Because I just know, I didn't vote for the minutes and I just wanted to make sure that I'm not supposed to be voting
Mike
because
isn't here yet.
alternate.
Yes, you are voting.
Okay, so I did not vote on the minutes, but I will vote moving forward.
Okay.
You can unmute yourself because I'm going to ask all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Good to see you, Catherine. Okay, next up, funding and finance.
Sure, thanks. Had a couple of maybe finance committee meeting in between then and now. Number of issues we talked about, our potential server needs, whether we want to have that server be possibly physical or virtual. There's a number of different ways to do that. So we've asked what would be the options or ramifications of having that server be either of those two things. And staff should get back to us with details about that. We talked generally about, of course, every single meeting, funding and how funding looks like and what's going on with those things related to the government shutdown and everything that is going on there regarding our reimbursements. And so in between our last meeting, when we heard raise was submitted, and then we got reimbursed this last week for that. I went to, myself and Commissioner Wilson, went to the Pacific Northwest Waterways Association conference. Was that last week? I know.
Last week, it seems like a long time ago, but I think it was, yes.
So we went to that and had a number of conversations with the folks. Eric was there for both days, so he'll be able to give more detail about that than I can. Learned, for example, that Terminal 6 in Portland is the second largest grain exporting terminal in the world, from the manager of Terminal 6. That is helpful for our waterway partners and all of our inland folks who we serve by potentially increasing the ability of water traffic to pass by our bridge. There's other stuff related to that as well. There's other related waterway impacts. Yes.
Just as a reminder, so we had agreed, I think, to be members of this for 1 year because we felt that there was a benefit to communicating with these users, and this was a great pathway to get them. Is that? And so did you find that meeting to serve that purpose?
This was their annual meeting. I think there were two things that were exceptional about it. One, all of the federal partners, and I think there are regularly 4 parts of the government that participate with them were not able to attend. So it kind of turned a 3-day meeting into about a day and a half. What that did allow us to do is I was able to do a presentation to the entire group about our bridge, what we're working on, what it means to the river, and what it means to the community. So that was beneficial, and that was able to spark several introductions and short conversations. I think there are several ports along the Columbia that are dealing with some of the similar issues that we're going to deal with as we start implementing our biological opinion and exercising the commitments we make on the ROD, and to be able to support those discussions. And I think that was one of the value components that I saw at it, and also met some potential fabricators that might be looking for work on the bridge as well. So it's not on avalanche, but there are definitely little points there that we can pick at. And there was also the illusion that some discussion, although not detailed, about the Army Corps has some major projects scheduled on the river in the locks and the dams over the next, 5 or 6 years. And I don't know if the timing is such that there's an advantage we can take up there or something as they start to slow down river traffic or whatever. But we at least haven't.
Bonneville?
I didn't catch the whole thing, and they weren't there to present on it, but it sounds like there is a comprehensive lock and equipment replacement all the way up the system.
Right.
And it was not clear to me. It sounded like it was just kind of would roll all the way through until they were all done, which seems awfully invasive to me, but there's something going on there, and it's probably worth circling back around when the government opens up and understand that a little better.
Yeah, so I did a tour of Dallas Dam a couple of weeks ago, and the operator there explained that they are not subject to the shutdown, that they're funded completely separately. So I don't know how they're funded, but so they're working there. And he also said that annually there's a maintenance closure that's coordinated river-wide, so I forget, he mentioned when it was, but
Okay, yeah, I think there's an annual one. This sounded more substantial than
Okay.
that, so.
There's an annual closure and then there's a rolling. I think it's maybe every few years, maybe 4 or 5 years, where the river will be shut down for
That might be what this
5 or
is.
6 weeks at a time.
So, beneficial, I thought.
As long as it doesn't shut down when we want to bring stuff through.
I think it's,
it's planned long in advance. Right.
yeah, I think it's just knowing that something's going on. What I was going on is if they're gonna stop letting water out through locks, is there an opportunity to change the pool for a period of time that is advantageous for bring in low water or something. I don't know if that even it's even a thing, but it just
Right.
seems like something to kind of poke at and dig into a little bit.
So I passed along to Mike Shannon the contact for who he might speak to about water level control.
Okay.
And so
Great.
I don't know if there's any information on that yet. So
I did reach out and talk to them. The lady I spoke to, they are able to fluctuate the water 5 feet. They typically keep it at around 76 and go down to 71. That's kind of their normal operating range. Their emergency range is up to about 82. Because that's at the dam. So our bridge is ordinary high water that we're setting the bridge to, and the Coast Guard is setting our navigational clearance to is about 84. And that's NAVD 88.
Right.
And there's a
88 or 83?
88, and then there's NGVD 29. And there's about a roughly 3 foot difference between those two. So if you do hear people talking about an elevation, make sure to
What datum?
which datum they're using, because we're right on a couple different datums. But so we have looked at that information. We've also gotten some bathymetric survey in for the bottom of the river. So we're looking at those depths to verify what those are, setting our profile based on those elevations.
Okay.
And then the other thing that took the majority of our time was going through talking about the analysis for executive director. We are still working on that. We have a number of outstanding, outstanding questions that we're talking with our partners to get back with some requirements and details, clarifications around that we want to have answered before we come back with recommendations. The rest of the board, additional recommendations for governance to fit with our partners' expectations around job description, grant reimbursability, et cetera. And so ideally, I would like to get this back to us within the next couple of meetings or so.
The key to that is trying to get resolution whether we have to have a PE.
That's one of the items.
One of them. There's a few different questions that we're working on resolving before we bring that back again.
I thought someplace I read that it was determined that we don't.
So, yeah, so local agencies have an exemption for having a PE. But that we believe is because local agencies funding falls through the DOT to the local agency. So the local agency oversight is by the DOT, which then allows them to not have that because they can kind of flow back up through the DOT, chain of command to a PE.
Okay.
Because of our situation, we're a direct recipient and we're not a true local agency under direct control of the DOT. We're getting clarification from HRWSBA where we fall.
Okay.
But that's only for federal funding. State funding, don't we fall under one of their?
It would be the project's federalized. So to meet federal requirements before you go to construction, you've got to have this person of responsible charge that is a direct employee.
I'm just wondering if we can make the case that, $250 million worth of our funding is coming through the states. And that fund comes through either ODOT or WashDOT or ODOT.
It's because of all the funding together and the project as a whole.
Yeah.
If it was only state money, I think then you could probably make that argument if you didn't have any federal money. But I think because we are under federal being federalized, that we won't be able to.
And the other thing we're trying, I think, is that one reason why we hired HMTV is being our professional arm.
Right. Correct. So that was the other question we asked them was if the person can be a contracted person, can HNTB as a contracted company not serve as that? And we're waiting to see what their responses are. And
We have a executive director who isn't an HNTB employee, but then have HNTB provide the PE services for that person.
yeah, correct. And FHWA, I talked to Tom Goldstein, the Oregon division, and really lost a lot of their senior knowledge related to a lot of these topics. So it's taken on more time than usual to go chase these things down and get the institutional history. So.
Anything else for funding and finance? No questions?
Just so that the executive director discussion is going to come to governance committee when you guys are done noodling on it, or is that or is it just coming to the main group? I didn't need to pay you.
Yes. We were asked to bring it back to the, if I'm not mistaken, we were asked to bring it back to the authority. There's going to be elements or recommendations, I believe, that regarding job description. That since that came through governance, have to go back to governance, or at least that was what we agreed to task governance with, was that job description. So if that ends up going that way, based on the will of the authority, cool.
Okay, but so it's going back to the, it will be back at one of our authority meetings.
Yes.
And then may from there go take a few bounces. And the reality is that without the funding now, we're not acting on this immediately, right?
That's, the authority hasn't made any decisions about that yet.
Okay. So there is a possibility.
Once we get done with the rest of the analysis and bring back, here's what's going on.
Okay.
We need to make a decision.
I'll wait for that then. Thank you.
Okay, any other question? If not, moving on, engineering and construction. Mr. Wilson.
Wow, I'm gonna need a little help on this. We met earlier, actually it was last week, and went through baseline schedule. That is the schedule we've been working with, the basic cost estimate, and then looking at what and where are the opportunities for improvement on that. And the idea is to set ourselves up and understand what those parameters are early enough in advance that we can actually ask the question and push an issue if we think there's an advantage with our partners. So that was really helpful.
Remember, that was construction on.
Yeah. Yes.
Because we didn't have a design schedule.
Right. Yeah. Just looking at the construction.
So I guess I'm confused. Which construction schedule are you talking about since we don't have a design yet?
Well, just looking out at the construction schedule. So where we're predicated right now on a lot of assumptions is start of construction in 27, fall of 27. So where does that need to start and how does that lay out?
And this is based on the, what is it, 10 or 15%?
Yeah, the people.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can help you. Remember when we did the last estimate, we had two estimates.
Right. Yes.
We picked the lower one to keep progressing.
Moving.
That estimate had a schedule with it.
Right.
And it had an approach to the schedule that's tied to the original estimate that we're now all working to.
Right.
So we took that and we said, first off, refresh our memory of what that is. Just wholesale move it to an 11 or 10/27 start.
Okay.
Forget about all the rest of it. Just plug it in. Remind us how it was built, configuration of it. You remember 2 ends into the middle.
Yep.
And then let's have a discussion about the drilled shafts. If you remember, the original approach was 4 drilled shafts per pier. Now we have 2,
right,
with the exception of the ones around
that's the open
shaft. Okay, so on a gross basis, what does that do to the schedule? Let's just have a discussion on it. We did. And then we started talking about what would happen with the girders. if we were able to thin down the girders, what kind of a thing would happen with that? And then we started looking at the schedule. Where are other opportunities or where are there pinch points that we have to keep in the back of our mind? And we start thinking ahead, looking at this. And we came up with if I remember right, about a page worth of things to go look at. One of the actions that HNTP has is that if you look at the schedule and you consolidate it down because of the foundations, potentially that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.5 to 4 months acceleration to the end date. Okay, well, what is that worth to us as far as money? Time-related costs, shorter, and then what do you save in the foundation? So the concept we kicked around in there is that we want to tie ourselves to the 1120, and anything we can do to cheapen up the project, we'll take that savings and dump it into contingency. We don't want to reduce the cost of this project right now since we don't even have all the funding for it. But let's start as we can. Let's build up that contingency as big as we can get it, which gives us the best chance going forward of living within the $1.12 billion. That's kind of the mindset that we kind of kicked around it. We needed to make sure you guys were okay with as a philosophy moving forward on the project.
So when you talk about a schedule, you're talking about, you started with the schedule that was kind of the last written thing that we saw, and you've kind of been noodling with it or doing some what ifs on it. The next time we'll have a schedule that has real meat to it is when we get to which point in the design phase? 60%. Okay. Okay. So you're working with the best you have now, but next summer we'll have better.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is, as we find these efficiencies, what's the knock-on effect of them?
Right.
Intuitively, you think it's got to save you some money and some schedule. Well, let's do a little bit more than just intuitive. Sure. And whatever we find, let's document it, log it, and then where it's on a positive for our side of our savings, let's build up the contingency. If it's
the reason is because as you move forward with the design, you're more likely to find things that work to the worse instead of to the better, right? It's easy to come and say, hey, we can save some money. Let's think of different ways to save money. You can come up with a bunch of ways. You don't say, hey, let's think of the ways that that this could cost more. So
I think when you really, really look at it, our risk for going up is either in pricing because of inflation, and we're watching it now this month.
Yep.
We got indices. And the other thing I personally believe that we've still got risk is figuring out how we're going to do the north end.
Right. I mean, access.
Yeah. Right. Now, once we get that figured out, then I think your risk on this project goes way down as long as we get construction funding. If that funding doesn't come, off we go.
Let's be clear, we have something that works.
Yeah.
We just don't like the way it worked.
Yeah.
We think north end.
Yeah. So we have a
There's
solution.
the budget, and after this exercise, the line items change. The total amount stays the same. Contingency line gets bigger. A couple of these other lines get smaller until the next iteration.
Right.
Where we may go the opposite direction.
Right.
And we're just storing up so that we can keep using the same one.
Right.
Okay.
And hopefully our first estimate, I mean, it should 50% adds, 50% deducts. The things that are going to drive price up are those things that we can't control. It's the indices, availability, schedule that gets protracted for some reason.
So the geotech is the one I would say we hadn't talked about. I mean, we did 12 borings across the water, but there were 2-inch borings in a 9-foot circle. So, those are still risks that hopefully these additional borings that we're going to get done will tell us more about each shaft.
A reminder, when are those complete?
They're just getting started. So that's what they've been working on right now on the land.
Okay.
We're waiting on the permits right now to do the in-water. Part of that is waiting on Army Corps, who's now on furlough. So we'll get those started as soon as we can get the okay from them.
So it's possible that we may not be able to do borings until after the government comes back.
Possible. It's a possibility.
There is a plan B if we have to pull the trigger. We've asked that if you take a look at where the piers are positioned across and you overlay it with the core sampling that we've already got done, is there some that is higher risk than others? And maybe what we do is we start design on those very low risk ones without having all the geotechnical work done.
And they can also do some superstructure and out of the water design in so the bridge can bond while we're waiting on that. The other thing that they're looking at is bringing in 2 rigs to do the borings instead of 1. The original plan was bring 1.
Right.
So they're looking at bringing in 2 to do twice. Those are just some ways we're looking at kind of countering what we're seeing right now.
Remind me how many holes that we're talking for each pier. We're boring at each pier, right?
1 hole for each pier.
One at each shaft.
Shaft, yeah.
That's
20.
true for sure.
It was more than that. There was more borings. I don't have the permit in front of me, but it was more.
Yeah,
It
it's one
wasn't
of each.
excessive, but it was the needed amount per shaft.
Yeah, it's one of each shaft plus the temporary work, plus some exploratory ones on top of that. So I want to say 40-ish was the total number, was in the neighborhood of 40. We can get you the exact number if you need the exact number.
I'm actually, frankly, I'm more concerned about what the dependency here is on the government reopening and how that affects our ability to proceed on the design.
It's the permitting.
No, I understand that, but you can't do design without permitting. Well, you can't do design without the, you can't do the design without the cores and without the cores, without the.
You can't finalize it.
You can't finalize things. Yeah.
Finalize it. You can still do some work.
Yeah. There's components of the design that we can do without the cores, and that's what they're focusing on right now.
So the statement is even though the government is shut down, Kiewit is still progressing.
Yes.
Okay.
At what point do you start to lose pace?
3 months, 4 months.
Okay.
It's earlier than that, but
How many engineers do we have on the project right now?
I'm just having a joke here.
We've got another total number right now, probably.
Yeah, somewhere on there.
there's really,
They haven't fully ramped up.
there's 2 issues we're gonna get impacted by the shutdown. One is the permits right now, anyway, permits for the geotech work.
Right.
The second one is getting a rod signed.
Right.
Now, that doesn't have a real immediate impact on it, but we're asking the question, how long before it really starts hurting us?
Right.
We got Kiewit's fully loaded schedule on Friday that has all of their phase 2 laid out. We'll be taking a look at that and looking at where we can leverage and do design. Continue to move forward.
Okay.
Keep an eye on that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, it leaves me a bit nervous, not because it's so clearly, there's a serious issue that you're talking about. We know that the area underlying the river has shelves of hard material and that the bottom is distinct and variable. I think it's probably the best way to say it. So it's not like the cores are simply to reassure yourself. There's real information that will determine the design of these piers that's going to come out of this.
Yes.
But let's be real clear, even if we do a couple more borings, that doesn't guarantee you that we're not gonna find a surprise.
I understand. That's why a contingency. Yeah.
Because as you know, out there, that basalt, you could be 6 inches over
You just
here
get
and
in the
solid,
crack.
and another 6 inches over there and it's void.
Yeah.
Do they potentially move the or do additional borings or consider moving the piers, depending on what they find in the geotechnical?
Absolutely. And if you remember, we have a contingent, I'll say, an allowance, contingency for additional borings, depending on what we have. So we're gonna do the initial set of borings. If something comes out that looks different and needs more investigation, we've got budget to do additional borings.
And all of that is just in an effort to reduce the risk that we do
Somewhere down the road.
the auger and don't run into a surprise.
Right.
We
Anything
got
else?
that one.
All right.
But it's important,
It
right?
is important. All right, we'll move on to governance, administration and operations. Commissioner Babbitt.
So actually, I see in action items, we have the insurance policy discussion. So that was really what we spent most of our time talking about, as I recall. So I'll pass. And you will fill us in soon, I'm sure.
Let's move on to communications.
Arthur, can I ask a question on that? Are we looking at a policy just for that equipment, or is it time to start considering having a general liability policy?
Yes.
Is that the
latter
discussion?
Yeah, so part of it, Tehi is sort of next.
Yeah, so in the back of the package, there is a action item we laid out as to investigate if a current policy covers liability of our authorities' liability at the site, as well as the committee decide not to direct the director to go pursue the equipment protection insurance because it doesn't pan out to pay that much money to cover this rarely vandalized equipment high up in the tower.
But what did come up, what sort of flowed from that discussion is that we should be going back and pushing a little bit harder on the issue of getting introduced in the legislature, in the Oregon legislature, something that would allow our bridge authority to be under the tort claim limitations. Right. That having not having tort claim limitations as we proceed down this path is probably a bad thing, and will cost significant amounts of money as we go forward. But this is a short session for the legislature, so limited number of bills that they'll deal with, and had a question as to whether this is the time to do it or not. And we put out some requests, but we don't have an answer on that yet.
Yeah, so that's the
subject
taken by the Mark Greenoff, your legal counsel. He's working on that one with, I guess, eventually.
We talked to Thornton, and we're working on the timing of that.
With the same question you, but we don't have an answer yet.
Yeah.
Correct. Communications. Yep.
Okay, just gonna go over some of our things we're working on. So top of the list is still BIP advocacy. So just making sure that we are doing everything we can to support that. I know Commissioner Berger is working on gathering support from local aerospace agencies as part of that BIP advocacy. Next thing is record of decision. So it's focused on developing a signing event with key stakeholders whenever the ROD is finalized. So that's in the future. Project design phase communication. The team will be rolling out some updated renderings of the new bridge in conjunction with updates on design as we progress through the design phase. Along with that, we're revamping our website. So we're going to be cleaning up some things. Part of that will be improved video and image content and a refreshed FAQ page. So that's ongoing. That should be coming up here pretty soon. The Raise Grant open house. So we are wrapping up the Raise Grant project and HMTB staff. We've had a lot of work sessions with City of Bingen, Cedar White Salmon, City of Hood River. So we're going to hold a public event early December where the Raise Grants committee that includes representatives from the cities, transportation advocates, as well as HMTB staff are going to be there to present the plan and solicit feedback from the public.
I didn't catch the words that there.
There is, we're still working on that, I
I
think.
mean, so this is, what's the name of the event? You said something about a specific event.
It's a, sort of a open house, sort of to present the action plan that the raise grant is paid for.
That has not been scheduled yet.
We have some dates early December. I don't want to give out the exact date just because it hasn't been finalized, so. But yeah, looking at early December for that first open house. Sound right?
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
add just a couple things to that for the board. We want to make sure the cities and the counties can be there because the authority, there's a break in the project, right? Once we finish the action plan, the authority is handing that over really to the locals to go do more with it.
Right.
So we wanted to have the meeting, but also have them there to really get into the details of what they're planning to do and what they're going to do with the plan and what, they may construction schedules or whatever other questions they get into that the authority's not going to be involved in. So we wanted to make sure we timed that so that the cities and the counties could be there to answer those kinds of questions. The authority's just really getting the action plan and the base documents together. And then they're going to hand it off to everybody else to go do other things with
So
it.
a question on that one, Mike, and Jake, do we see that the cities are ready to take ownership of this?
They've been a part of the conversations all along. So yeah, so we invited them, made sure they were going to be available and at the meeting just for that purpose.
And the counties on the port, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we say committee, that it's over 20 different agencies that have been involved and so, obviously, the plans for City of White Salmon, the Hood River folks aren't going to attend. So it's changing for the different locations, but there's been a lot of engagement. And so we've been really happy with how that's been working out.
I believe when we had our other open houses in White Salmon, there was a lot of Hood River people that showed up in White Salmon.
Mhm.
So
From the public or from?
from the public, yeah.
Yeah, the big thing with this is I want to make sure that everybody understands the authority's role in this versus what the future roles are, that the authority's not the one that's going to be constructing all of these bike facilities outside of it. That's a local piece to do. The authority's just helping to make sure there's a plan that is a baseline for everybody. If you remember when we went to do the RAISE grant, we could only get a planning grant because this action plan didn't exist.
Right.
And in order to get to the construction grants related to RAISE, you have to have this action plan. So the authority was doing this action plan so that we could open up really everybody's doors to construction grants going forward. So maybe us, maybe others, but we wanted to do that as a community project.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Jacob, I've got two other ones maybe to think about. One is hopefully this week, definitely next week, we're going to sign the MOU with Umatilla. So that'll be the first of 4 years in the making. So that may be something to talk about. The second thing is we've had several discussions now, and one of which was today about going to the local schools and talking about getting young kids into the trades and getting that process really started. We talked about it, but I think now we're going to get more serious about it with we'd like to go to the local high schools in both sides of the river, and the tribes would like to set something up and we get involved with them as well. Warm Springs was all over that today.
So you mentioned and you used the term new rendering, and I want to take a little bit of issue. What we have today is we have an artist conception, which was based on 0% design, right? So this will be the first rendering based on an actual design.
We're using the actual 15% design, the actual shapes of things, the sizes of things, spacing of things, trying to make a more accurately represented rendering, where some of the other ones were artistic drawing. Not-
Right, yes, I mean, it says rendering right there, but I don't call that a rendering. I think that's a statement.
Yeah, no, you're correct. These versions will be much more consistent. It will be based on how the project is designing the
And
project.
I'll just remind everybody, the reason I bring this up repeatedly is because the number one thing people complain about to me is they say, boy, that bridge design looks really crappy. It's like, well, there is no design. I don't even know what design you're talking about, but I do know what they're talking about. So I think we should be careful on the terminology.
The drawings that you're gonna do are based on not 15, but where we are today.
Where we
Or today, the latest information. that
Yeah,
we
so it'll
have
be
today.
kind of a
Piers,
narrower, pier foundation.
yeah, two shafts.
Would also be the steel.
Yep, steel, the pedestrian bike paths, accurate
Profile, right.
Utilities, we're gonna try to show a shot with the utilities where they're
Right.
in the design now. So I think people can really start to picture more. Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Yep.
$500 million to create
There'll
it.
still be parts that won't be there, right? Like, we haven't decided on light posts, we haven't decided on fencing, we haven't decided on some of those architectural features, so those things will still need to be worked on, but the bones of it will be much closer to what we're
So
actually going.
when you guys roll that out, I think it's going to be very important to communicate very precisely what this shows and what it doesn't show.
Yeah.
Because that didn't happen there. And people jump to a conclusion. Naturally, I mean, I can't blame anyone for jumping to a conclusion because we certainly didn't provide them with anything else.
Yeah.
So I just want to be careful.
Okay.
Can I jump back to the raise grant for a second? So are we going to be doing advocacy support for the construction funding once we have so it's kind of we are hands off at this point. We're not gonna ask to approve anything. We're not gonna help support getting any of the.
I'm
further.
certain when the cities come through looking for grants, they will ask us for letters of support, but we are not going to be the lead.
Okay.
And this is just the draft of the action plan, so it'll be finalized between now and June, I think, of next year.
Mhm.
There'll be the final action plan. And then there's still a portion of the raise grant that goes towards designing the 60% like
Mhm.
head features of the bridge.
Yeah. So let's say the cities don't, do a great job with this and don't get the construction funding. Does that, we basically just will end up with a bike path that doesn't connect fully. Is that sort of the?
Well, we're gonna tie into the trail that's on the port property.
Yeah.
So we're gonna tie into that trail.
Mhm.
And then on this side, it'll tie into the roadway trails that are here and the sidewalks that are here on this side.
Mhm.
So yeah, whether it ties into future ultimate plans is up to others to do.
Okay.
But this plan, yeah, so this plan, as I understand it, though, defines the interface.
It does.
The bridge project, we have responsibility only for the bridge,
Right.
but it's got these wires sticking out of it. And like you mentioned that on the Hood River side, you said was going to attach to the waterfront trail. There's also the question of how people traveling on bikes on the road get onto the trail.
And they've identified some concept ideas of where they would like to have future bike lanes and things like that within the cities and where, they want to connect Benjamin to White Salmon. So those are parts of it. That's part of the action plan is there's a concept that the locals have all kind of agreed to and come up with that give the framework for a build out plan in the future.
So everybody is talking, all the right people are talking about this. You guys are providing the forum where all the information is there. And I'm not sure why yes. I'm sure that there's going to be funding limitations, but it sounds like the plans are going to be, solid and.
Concept plans, I want to make sure it's concept plans. There's not a lot of detailed, there's still a lot of work to be done to make them a constructible set of plans. Look at these as kind of a NEPA level, probably pre-NEPA level concepts plans, because the environmental stages would still need to happen.
Right.
Detailed construction plans still need to happen. So this just gives the framework of how things would connect.
Just to give you an example, so at our last meeting on the Oregon side, we had the City of Hood River's planning director, city engineer, we had two people from ODOT, we have someone from St. Rob's School, we had someone from CAT. I myself was representing the bridge. We had HNTV team. So all the right people that you want in these meetings are there and are providing excellent feedback.
I just don't want to leave it, making it sound like, hey, we're just responsible for the bridge and whatever happens with connecting it is going to happen. Clearly, it's not the case. There are definitely going to be questions as to the funding of the connections, but things like, having their traffic or having a roundabout and attaching bike lanes through that and having those bike lanes then connect to White Salmon and Big June is something that's being thought about. Thinking about how you get bikes off of the road and onto the trail to get across the bridge is something that's being thought about. These things aren't just hanging out there.
How to get through downtown, Hood River, the priority sequences, priority routes. That's all I'm thinking of.
I think our scope, we got involved in this thing to kind of be the glue to get a plan together.
Right.
Okay, once the plan is there, we're backing away and we're focused solely on getting the bridge built. And part of it is in support of that plan. But whatever happens outside of that, we don't know. It's not us. Now, if somebody is taking the lead and wants our input and so on, of course we could do that. But we're not in the lead. We're not driving. We're not the catalyst of anything right now beyond that plan.
I think it would be fair to say that just like we're watching carefully what they're doing, they're going to be watching carefully what we're doing, vice versa. So I don't think this hands wash thing is, it may be that it's not Mike's job to worry about it, but I consider it my job to worry about it.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is we can certainly change that if that's what we all want to do as an authority. Right now, the scope is, okay, we're done with this, we're backing off, we're focused on getting the bridge. If we want to change that, that's fine.
Yeah, I just remember getting, when the Nichols Basin Park was being done and the whole thing was finally finished, and the Ports Trail and the Nichols and the NATO Trail were 10 feet apart. And my phone started ringing because people wanted to know how this could happen and what I was going to do about it. So I think we're going to be paying attention.
And with that in mind, I guess I didn't hear Jake, sir, Mr. Communications Chair, I did not hear that the port was involved in that. And so are they just not were any representatives from the port present or involved? Since most of the stuff is connecting on their property over.
Yeah, the port has been involved. One of the things that we identified as the port-owned walking bridge is kind of a key point on how this whole thing is going to work on the Oregon side. And so they've been involved, and and hopefully they'll be there at these meetings to also solicit public feedback.
Any other questions for communications?
Arthur, just sort of one more point on kind of like this possible like sort of gray area around, how we're interfacing, on the next stage of the RAISE grant. Do we think that there's any additional action that we need to take, kind of as we're doing this handoff to define really any future role that we'd want to have with this, so that we're setting the expectation with the cities if there is some future communication?
I think it's a great question. I have to think about this more. I've been thinking about from a county point of view, it's the city of Hood River, city of White Salmon, city of Bingen that are really central to this. And I have not had a discussion with them. So,
I do agree. We will probably inherit, responsibility for any blame or any disappointments in how it's rolled out, whether or not it's, actually on us or we've abdicated responsibility.
I just think it's important to recognize there's a surprising amount of complexity to this interface, right? It's, if anything, the road connections you just tie it in and it's going to be super easy compared to how these other connections happen. So I think it's going to take a lot of communication with the community to get it right. I think the cities are clearly prepared to work on that. And I've had nothing but interesting questions from the cities, so I'm not worried that people are just going to sort of let it fall. But it's getting it right is going to be super important and it's a hard thing to do.
But also this is the vehicle that allows those entities to pursue
Yeah.
funding to actually implement it.
Exactly.
So it's not like the bridge is going to get built and the bike path is going to get built and it's all going to have to connect or not. It's probably going to end up being some sort of sequential thing. And there'll be physical things out there for people to connect to.
Yeah. So
rather than just an idea. So
in Oregon, there's a transportation systems plan that each city has. And so, well, you're on the city council, you can describe what you guys are doing. But you guys, I'm sure, are going to be updating your TSP to incorporate all the stuff that happens from this discussion. And the upgraded TSP is going to be used as the application jumping off point for getting funding. Did I get it? Yeah.
Yes. Close enough.
Okay, any other questions for communication? We're gonna jump back up and do our project director update report.
So it's in the packet. I'm gonna make it short. If anybody has any questions, I'll address the questions. Rather than go through.
Thank you.
Yourself, that's all right with everybody. All right. Any questions?
Back on my schedule.
All right.
Not hearing any questions. Okay, we're going to move on to our action item, insurance policy for the bridge monitoring equipment. Staff review.
Yeah, just I informed earlier that we had directed by recommended by the governance committee Friday that we need to investigate if our current policy covers liability when we install the bridge monitoring stuff on the outside of the perimeter at the mountain Adams fruits as well as SDS lumber. And also the committee recommended not to pursue to procure the protection insurance for the equipment.
The casualty, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the price on the casualty insurance was about 12 to 14,000, and you're going to need it out there for about 5 years at least, which is over half the cost of what the equipment is. So it just didn't seem economical.
It's a monthly cost.
It's annual, so $1,000 per month.
Right. Just the economics did not seem like it made any sense to.
And especially in 5 years, that equipment's gonna be worthless.
Most likely.
I have a
won't be
big
worthless, it'll just be outdated.
It'll work. It'll do what it's supposed to do. It's going to be a little dated.
kind of bigger question for you. If you think about as we start into construction and Hewitt is buying things, if we use them, let's assume we use them and it's a lump sum. They're buying material, they're buying equipment, they're building stuff. And as it gets built, the value of it increases until they turn it over to us and we start operating an operating bridge. How does the insurance work with Hewitt? Do we need to have insurance that grows? That if Hewitt knocks something over, that's one thing. If there's an earthquake during construction, who is liable for paying to replace what got destroyed? And if it's us, which I think it probably is, I know if you're building a house, you want to add on your insurance as the house progresses. But I think we need to take a holistic look at this thing. Do we need to negotiate a policy that we can add to as this thing progresses and not piecemeal it?
So the construction, the contractor will carry the builder's risk insurance. It can be purchased by the contractor or owner, sometimes procure and carry for them as for the project liability, including any catastrophic issues or their materials being burned down during storage. So that's something that we have to negotiate the PDB contractor before they get into the whole price, because it has to include it in the price.
Either way, we pay for it.
Right.
But it hasn't been negotiated yet, so we don't know if we carry it or they carry it.
Right. And the other thing is the tort claim that Mark is working on.
But then after the bridge is done, before the one is taken down, we've got a liability on the new bridge.
Right.
And if we take ownership of the old bridge, at that time, I would think we've got liability at that point on the old one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you have property, you've got to
Right.
You're gonna-
take ownership of it, then we have to insure.
So I think it's bigger than just this one piece of equipment.
Yeah, this is the first time you've needed to think about this, but you've got a lot more coming related to this issue.
But the first step is to get the legislature to adjust the Tort Claims Act so that we are covered and able to acquire insurance under the Special Districts Association.
Yeah, that's like 2 or 3 parallel paths that ought to be kind of working together.
Well, that by itself, once you have the tort claim limitations, that should make your insurance much, much cheaper. Whatever path you go together, whether it's through a contract through the PDB or whether you do it directly, the cost of it is far less because there is a legal defense that you have against tort claims, being that you're an agency that is
Good point.
protected.
So the due date for getting that behind us really ought to be is driven by start of construction.
Yes, we thought it was. We've always thought that.
Yeah.
Well, the question now is whether it should be earlier than that because as we proceed through the design, there are things that are happening that might start to develop liability for us.
So on our team,
Decisions we make.
Right. So governance committee discussed it and Mark was going to be talking with Mark.
I talked to Thorn Run. They're looking at opportunities in the short session, which are gonna be small, but then the big focus is gonna be trying to get it through in 27. So you would have that.
27 will be too late for us. We're gonna end up paying more.
Not really. If you're starting construction in October, you'll be through the long session by June. You would have the bill in place prior to that. You're gonna be very limited. We chose not to do it in 25.
But what about 26?
Short session.
Short session, you have a limited number of bills. They're gonna keep an eye out for an opportunity to do that, but you've got to get somebody to sponsor it.
So if it happens in 27, we gotta have a game plan that very quickly converts language into.
We have the language already.
Yeah,
We have it already.
That's what I've heard.
It's simple.
what I've heard is that once we get the tort thing, then it goes into the special districts, which is a pretty well-known process.
Can we get the insurance quotes both ways and be able to use
With
that?
and without.
Yeah, to go back to the legislature to see, really give them a dollar value to say, we need insurance, just, we have barges that are in the water. If something happens, we can't afford to get sued without insurance. If we have the tort claims, it would be this much. Without it, it's gonna be this much. Our insurance is gonna go up by this amount when we go.
That's gonna be on the contractor, not on us.
Well, it could be an opportunity for us if we could get it covered under tort and assuming that Kiewit's normal insurance is not. If somehow we could put an umbrella together for this project, that it falls under that, even though we may buy the insurance for this project for Kiewit at a much reduced rate.
Which project are you talking about? We say this project?
The bridge. This.
So, right, and that's
Special districts insurance wouldn't cover our contractor doing $1 billion project.
no, it's the liability of the bridge authority as a corporation. That's what we're seeking protection of through the Tort Claims Act. Just like the city, county, the port, anytime that they do a construction project, they independently have liability insurance, but for the specific construction project, it's going to be a different question.
Yeah. So this really comes into play really after bridge opening and our operation.
Well, I mean,
No, listen to, because we're gonna make design decisions that are gonna carry liability forward, so you sooner rather than later.
That's where it comes into play, our decisions.
Design.
It's not just design, it's any decision that we make. If anybody were to challenge the decision, could, there is liability associated with that. Right now, there haven't been a lot of decisions that have been made, but, as we start making more of them and as we start getting more attention, it's.
And as those decisions become physical things, then.
But yeah, the problem is you can make a decision now, but it doesn't do anything until something is done.
Yeah.
And you see an impact of it.
There's, right, and so governmental entities generally have a ton of protection under state law, and we did not get that protection because of the drafting of the legislation that authorized the creation of our district in both Oregon and Washington. That was a major oversight. And, we got to correct it.
Okay, so to get back to this, we have the insurance policy for the bridge monitoring equipment. We've had discussions at the governance committee level about, do we move forward and do we spend this, or do we try to self-insure this for $12,000 or $14,000 per month over the course of 5 years, or I'm sorry, per year, not per month. Over the course of 5 years, does it make sense from the board's policy decision to self-insure under this? And that was the direction. We kind of went off tangent there.
But there was a question, right? I'm not sure we got an answer to the question of whether we can self-insure. Wasn't there a structure to self-insure that might be required? Didn't Mark advise us that
part of that was looking at whether or not we can talk SDS into foregoing the insurance requirement? Because SDS was saying we want insurance, and so there was going to be some conversation that Doug was working on to work with SDS. And then it was also, if SDS says, no, you don't have to have it, there was also the other part of that, which was the 14,000 covered the cost of the equipment, not just the liability. And that was what we were talking about. It doesn't make sense from the organizational perspective to, in essence, self-insure the cost of the equipment, not the liability side.
So I think that it's premature to make a decision, but we can take a sense of.
That was the idea.
So that's what you're trying to do.
That's what I was trying to point out.
Didn't we, or doesn't the port want some kind of a liability relief for us putting our equipment on their bridge?
Wouldn't be.
Was that part of the agreement?
It was a agreement between authority and port that was executed about 3 months ago for the equipment on the bridge, and they didn't really require any other specific insurance for that.
They did not require insurance.
They don't require the minimum insurance as an agency, not specifically for those.
They did want access to the information.
Yes.
Yes,
That's correct.
So they are getting value as well. Okay. Is there a general sense from the board?
I mean, my personal opinion based on what I've heard is we need to get the liability. Yes, but I don't see any sense or any purpose is served by buying property insurance for the monitoring equipment.
That was a question. We have liability insurance as a corporation today. It will become more expensive every year. And
as we go forward.
Before it becomes big, we want to address that.
Yeah.
So if that piece of equipment falls off, gets blown off the roof on Mount Adams, and it hurts somebody, we've got insurance for that.
You have to call Scott in here and ask him.
That's what we are investigating, if the current policy covers that kind of a liability.
So we do have a current.
We do
have a current liability.
This building and everything inside of it.
Okay.
And we have officers,
And then
yes.
Bonding, isn't it?
I'm sure, what's the quick acronym, but
DNO.
whatever the acronym is, we have that.
Well, to summarize, at least my position is that if we have insurance for that kind of a liability, wind blows that equipment off or equipment falls off a stand and hits somebody, as long as we're covered for that, I think we ought to self-insure on the equipment.
The question on the liability is always, we have liability insurance. Is there some crazy exemption that we're not familiar with, that someone finds that when we go to make a claim, the insurance company says, nope, you're not covered because that involved wind and we only cover water or something.
And who's determining that?
So we've asked for a determination, and Tehi is following up with with our agent on that, right?
Yep.
That would be Scott Rainier, which is why I made the joke about Scott.
We also have another contact now too that we're gonna talk to.
For a different policy.
Yeah.
Our existing policy is Scott Rainier.
Right. So we've heard from two people, their general census is that consensus among the rest of them? Okay, with that, we will have staff go back, continue working on the project. They have now heard what our consensus is, and we can move on to the appointment of the committee members for the Port of Hood River right-of-way negotiation.
I've had my hand up. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't see you,
I
Catherine.
had my hand up, put it down, put it back up. A different sort of discussion about insurance, but just want to put it out there. The Port of Hood River had a insurance call on the current bridge. And once the tolling money is going towards the current bridge, there is talk about them no longer insuring loss of revenue for, let's say something happened to the bridge. And so I just wanted to bring that to the bridge authority's attention, because that is something that may come into play for lots of different types of funding, including TIFIA, et cetera. So just want to make sure that that was relayed to you. Kevin is on the call. He came on video just so you guys could see his great haircut. And he also could answer questions, but I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of that. Different type of insurance, but still sort of in the realm of the insurance discussion. Over.
Catherine, so that's as of July 1st, 2026. You're basically signaling to us that we should expect that the port is going to stop covering loss of revenue from bridges, from incidents that cause bridge closures.
That is the discussion that has been had. I'm one of many commissioners, so I can't tell you which way anyone will vote, but I would just imagine that might be coming back. I don't want that to be a surprise if it did go that way, so which is why I'm bringing it up.
But remind me, so I thought that when there was a loss of revenue because of the bridge closure in the last year, because of the accident, I thought that when all the money was settled out as a result of the insurance settlement, I thought that we didn't get coverage for that anyway.
It's after 30 days of non-use, but I just wanted to bring it right, Kevin. If it's bridge cost is replay, the loss of income is in effect after 30 days, correct?
Yeah. So from the event that happened last year, Arthur, that was a 15 day lot. We had to wait 15 days before we could receive any loss of revenue. The new policy is going to be changing quite a bit. It'll be 30-day loss. It'll be a $40 million max coverage with a $2.5 million deductible and a $250,000 annual premium. So we're just looking at different ways to bring that down. We have an internal bridge committee, which Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner Beaker sit on, and that allowed them, I think I had a 2-hour conversation with Scott Rainier. So it wasn't really sure if by removing that rider, if that was really going to bring the overall premium down, but something that we're definitely looking at.
Like you'll communicate to us what the cost of that coverage might be, and you could, for example, ask us to cover that.
Right, and that's what Scott.
What if the delta between the two is minimal? What are you looking at me for?
What are you going to cover it with? What are you going to cover?
First, I want to know what the cost is.
How are you going to cover it?
We have no funds that could be used to I mean, we have operational funds.
We could borrow money from them to give them the money back to do it.
I don't think any grant funding would be able to cover that.
Right, there you go.
So I think a more important conversation that we should put on this moving forward is we need to be looking at the new bridge and saying that bridge is going to have to be self-insured. Because when you look at the cost of this insurance and the price per year, and you look at what they cover and don't cover, their whole goal is to not cover anything, and you give them $250,000 a year.
I think to jump on that a little bit, what you're saying is a very, very old bridge that nobody wants to insure. If it was a brand new bridge, we'd have all kinds of people wanting to insure
I
it.
think we're not gonna have a choice either. Tiffy is gonna require us to have insurance.
You're gonna be required by some of your federal stuff to have insurance to a certain level. And a
But
new
the
bridge will
other-
be totally different than a home bridge.
The other thing about this whole thing is that the port, naturally, if they have an accident on that bridge, they're gonna want to try and repair it as quick as they can to get the revenue flowing again and community and whatever's in that kitty after July 1st still is gonna get spent on fixing that bridge. It's not gonna be held in reserve for us.
Right.
It's gotta maintain that bridge. So
Right.
we could be out our little sliver of it for a period of time. And potentially, if there was no major events, then there would be a pot of money at the end when we start up the new project that could get transferred in here.
But so what you're saying is we're talking about funds which are segregated at the port for bridge purposes. So it's not like the port can spend those funds on other activities.
Correct. After July.
After July 1st, 2026. So if those funds are segregated, the port's not going to look at it and say, screw them, it's not my problem. They're going to continue to operate the bridge in an intelligent manner and for the benefit of the community. So I'm not sure how much of a problem there is here.
I don't think there is much either, because they're gonna, as expeditiously as they can, they're gonna try and get that bridge reactivated and
Well,
they want us to complete building the new bridge so they can get rid of it.
assuming that assuming that the bridge is repairable, right? So
It's
like
not-
if there's damage that is unrepairable and we're counting on having this, stream of revenue for our funding plan, that could put us in a potentially bad situation.
Yeah, we have to talk about that, but the bridge is uninsurable, basically.
Well, the bridge is uninsurable, but we still may be able to find somebody that will provide us a policy that is a revenue replacement policy based on our contract with the bridge. We may not be able to.
It sounds really
No,
questionable.
so finding the bridge insurance is the port problem. So I think what we need to be really clear here is the bridge is insurable. We do have insurance. We are currently renewing and going through renegotiations. What I'm bringing to you all as the bridge authority is the fact that as of July 1st, the port is considering not holding another type of insurance that would reimburse us for loss of revenue after 30 days. That is important because if something were to happen, like Commissioner Berger was stating, that the bridge goes out of commission for more than 30 days, the bridge authority would not be able to recoup the money that the port in the earmarked fund, in the earmarked bank account that's currently being used for bridge operation and maintenance and is not being used for projects. It's being used correctly. That might run out, and the Tiffy alone, all that money cannot be touched because it has to be, you can't double count money. So all I'm saying is for your consideration, it may be a good topic for the next item for when we do have negotiations with the port, ways that we can work together because it's not adversarial, right? We're all trying to build a bridge. The port wants a bridge just as much as the bridge authority wants a bridge. We just need to be thinking long-term. If something was to happen, would that affect us immensely to where we would lose so much money from bridge income and the recoupment of that it might be worth for the bridge authority to discuss what Arthur was saying was just to cover the delta. Because right now we do have insurance in the bridge is insurable, but I'm just bringing it up because the bridge authority can't tell the port you have to carry this insurance. It's the port's call. But if the bridge wants it, you may need to discuss innovative ways. That's all.
What Grant was trying to say, I think, is where are we paying for that? How could the
Totally
bridge
agree.
authority-
I'm just bringing
funding
it up.
source?
Just thought you should know.
Thank you, Catherine, for bringing it up. I think that's great. That's awesome. We don't have to solve it right here, right now.
Yep.
It's something we clearly need to be thinking about and discussing. And it's the right time to bring it up because we're talking to our insurance agents. We've got some runway. Let's use it. Let's be thoughtful. And I think it's a great point to just say, hey, this is going to happen. Put it on your radar. It may even be a risk thing. Do we want to put it on the risk register and say, hey, we're going to track this. We're going to come up with a plan and plan to do nothing or plan to do something.
Just an opportunity.
We didn't need to say that.
When is your new insurance policy effective? Or what you're negotiating new policy for what effective date?
I believe it's January 1, correct, Kevin? It's
February 1, January 31.
Well, we've only had one accident on the bridge in the last 60 years that shut it down for over a week, right?
Why do you say that?
I think, isn't that how the only?
I found photographs showing a massive mess in the bridge 40, 50 years before. So I don't know. I don't think we have records of that.
Oh, I don't remember anything that I've ever heard where the bridge was shut down for a length of time, except from our recent experience. I mean, we've had.
I showed Kevin some pictures of a mangled bridge that looked exactly like what happened. Not exactly, but it looked like a very related thing to what happened this past year. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd love to see those pictures.
Yeah.
I was just hoping that we've used up our one use and we should be good for the next 50 years. Okay, we are still talking about, or actually we're going to start on the appointment for the committee members for the right-of-way negotiation. Thank you so much, Catherine, and I'm sorry I missed your hand being raised. Staff report.
So as the project is now progressing past NEPA and the ROD, hopefully soon, you're moving into the stage where you can now start handling right away. You've got a number of right away activities that are going to be coming up. As you know, the port is one of the primary agencies, businesses impacted by the new project. You've got at least 4 distinct transactions that need to happen with them, from the 6F impacts, the relocation, the permanent and temporary. It includes both stuff on the Oregon side as well as the Washington side, because they own property on both. The thought was that we needed to develop a subcommittee to spearhead or lead this discussion with the port and be your primary people that would be working with them, and whoever the port identifies to work with us on this. There's a lot of pieces and parts to this that need to be worked through. So I think in the past, Commissioner Babbitts and Commissioner Anderson have been the ones who have led those types of discussions with the port. So the thought was that does the board want to have them continue in that role with the right of way as we move into the design phase and towards construction? And all of this will need to be in place before you go to construction in 27. So over the next 2 years, there's a number of right of way activities that need to happen.
And there's a bunch of staff members involved in that. But
there is, yes.
The request is for us to be the commission representatives
for this activity.
Discussion with the port.
Yes, correct.
And anything that we decide would have to be ratified by the
full board group. Correct.
I move that are we appointing you or are we continuing with the volunteering? Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner Babbitts to be the right-of-way contacts for negotiations with Port of Hood River. Representatives.
I'm sorry, can I expand that to more than just the Port of Hood River and make it any right-of-way? Originally when I wrote it, it was Port of Hood River, but there are a lot of other entities that may be impacted. So to where there's to the point where there's no conflicts, those two would be a
resolution. Negotiate to resolution.
Yes. Well, no, what I mean by conflict is conflict of interest that may come up through the other roles.
So Commissioner Babbitts couldn't negotiate with Hood River County. Just let's.
Correct. Fortunately, I don't think we have any property.
I don't think so, but.
Right. I'm just like putting it out there for the public to understand. Like, obviously I cannot because I am a port commissioner.
Right.
Obviously Grant cannot because he's a city of Hood River. Right. So that's why, yeah, just wanted to make sure we just clearly state why we.
Okay. Friendly amendment. I think that was accepted by
yes
everyone. Is there any,
Get a second to do.
did we get a second?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we second. Any discussion?
Just hurry it up.
I tried to.
I do have a question. Is there any full negotiation left on this? Because
Yes.
You are not part of the tribal negotiation side of it.
There is a right of way transaction that will need to happen with the BIA. Bureau of Indian Affairs.
But it's not with the tribes.
Yeah, correct. So
It is separate from our MOA.
FHWA about
Yeah, that's, it's,
and you will have to work with BIA, who will work with the tribes. But yes, there is a BIA related right of way activity.
okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, informational items.
So the rod status, right now is we were hoping that this week that the Army Corps may be able to get to our rod. What we heard today from FHWA is they ran out of funding, that they thought was going to carry them towards the end of the month. So, we are not anticipating hearing from them, but there's a lot of things going on where people are getting called back to look at stuff. So it could happen. But right now, that's where that sits. FHWA has finished all of their work. All other parties have finished all of their work. We are waiting on Army Corps to come back and acknowledge our responses to their comments. And once they do that, then we can move forward with signatures.
So all it is an acknowledgement.
If as long as they acknowledge the responses that we had to their comments and don't have any issue with the responses that we provided, then everybody is set to go forward with it.
it's not a timeout.
I'm sorry.
It's not a timeout whereby if they don't respond by a certain date, it's presumed that they've responded in the affirmative. State
There
language.
was for comments.
Okay.
There was for comments.
Right, that's what
So-
made me think of
So
that. Yeah.
according to law, are we actually required to have them acknowledge those?
According to FHWA, they have told us they will not move forward with the rod. I don't.
That was not the
I know it's
question.
yeah. We need to have legal look into that and give us a legal opinion on that.
We challenged that at great length with them.
Seems unlikely we're going to convince FHWA to act
Okay.
differently.
Yes.
We even offered to
They're older than we
make all
are.
of the changes, just accept their comments if we could go ahead and sign. They wouldn't agree to that without Army Corps actually agreeing to that. So
Well, we've been waiting for years. What's another,
How many months?
what's
have we
another
been-
shutdown?
Months?
Well, years are made. Yeah, you can do the math and think how many months, because I want it more precise in number of years, but or else give me years. with
48, 49 months.
Okay, that's what I'm
Maybe
asking.
more, if you really go back to,
Yeah.
earlier discussions than that, but at least 48 months.
So at the point at which we had a EIS document to,
I can go back to when I started here in July of 22nd.
I don't think we had an EIS.
2022, I was told that we would have a record of decision and biological opinion by the end of that year,
December.
December of that year.
That being
Can you
22.
believe
That
it?
was in 20. Yeah, I told you guys we would.
We told you otherwise.
And I quit telling you that.
But just remember, at the beginning of this year, we were talking about moving forward and our drop dead date was July. It will be by July, and that's what we heard from our federal partners and
And that's what
everything.
we still are.
Oh, it's July still?
No.
It's
So,
just of which year now?
yeah, I was hoping that I could come back and tell you I just had the year wrong, but I missed that now too, so.
We were so close. So close.
We still are
And it
close.
was-
Close.
We still are.
Everything is done. We're just
It's not,
closer than we were.
there is such a thing as unforeseen circumstances, and I think we can fairly say that there have been a number of things that have happened during the last 2 or 3 years which were unforeseen,
Yes.
unforeseeable, let me say.
Unforeseeable.
There's a certain point at which that becomes routine.
Mm.
But and
Well, Misty made the joke at one of our risk meetings about how many days do you want to give due to the federal shutdown and she said 6 months. And I said, oh, and I said, that's absolutely ridiculous. And if she was on this meeting, I would have said, Misty, you may have actually been right for that risk number. We're about there. So.
Yeah, I mean, there are betting pools. You can see where the money is on on month of shutdown, and things don't turn back on instantly.
Okay, key project messages.
And you got anything related to that, or do we already cover it? I think
Today.
Jake covered most of that when we did the communications, but nothing there. On the infra grant, we did provide responses back to FHWA division. They have provided those back to their headquarters. Those responses are still making their way through headquarters. The division was going to follow up with them as well as their legal staff to resolve the comments. They did give us a sample for a potential pay on invoice that came from FHWA's legal. That was a sample. They were going to look at that and make it more project specific. We want to have the conversation with them about that being a project exception rather than just an infra exception. So those discussions will continue. FHWA is to the final stages where they want to transfer it. It will then go to USDOT and the Office of Secretary to review it after FHWA completes their work. One important thing with that is that FHWA is still going to move it forward as two separate agreements or two separate phases, a design phase and a construction phase. They are going to send that to OST for OST's consideration. The initial feedback is OST is most likely not going to support that, but we have not gotten a formal answer from OST. So once that's kind of the important next step is to move it from FHWA to OST. The one reason that we've heard is because this is a construction grant, not a design grant. We had worked with FHWA to split it into a design and construction. We also tied our CDS funding to it at a request of the state agencies to do that. If we get to OST and OST says no, that it's going to remain a construction grant and they will not split it, then FHWA Oregon Division is going to continue to work to split the CDS funding out of the infra and do it separately. Because we are approaching the expiration, I'll call it probably not the exact term, but the expiration on the CDS funds. So we have to finalize those CDSs next year. So we want to make sure that we're moving in that direction. So what we had told FHWA division was if by November we have not, it has not gone anywhere and we haven't heard from OST, we just want to go ahead and move forward with the CDS funding getting split out. They've had conversations with ODOT, and ODOT and FHWA have come to an agreement that they can figure out how to get the CDS funding split out. So that's where we're at.
Waiting till November.
Wait till November. The only reason was that if by something happened and OST was like, yeah, no, we're good with splitting it, go ahead and move forward with the 75. We wanted to give that enough time to happen with the shutdown and the timing of everything. Now it's most likely not going to move forward and we're going to need to ask for it to be separated and start down that path.
Is this an interpretation by OST? Because we put a significant amount of time and effort and money into having these split up. And in terms of this being a progressive design build project, is there anywhere that you cannot do planning in the?
It's in the infra grant, the way the infra grant program was set up. It was set up as a construction only grant. FHWA was willing to make an exception and split it and try to move forward with a design phase. Their initial conversations with OST is they are not going to support FHWA in that decision. So because it is a construction only grant.
So question for us, do we really need that money for design?
We can make it without if we get the CDS funding. So that's why the importance of getting the CDS split out. If we can't split the CDS funding out, then yes, we need the some source of funding to make us whole on the design.
Do we have a little gap at the end of the phase
Very, yeah.
1B, like a summer in 2027?
Remind me, the CDS, the congressionally directed spending comes, does that require the government to be, does that require congressional action?
I don't believe so. I believe it's already done. What I understood was all it requires is for FHWA and ODOT to come to agreement on the funding and for ODOT to then will be a pass through ODOT to us
Right.
with the CDS funding, and ODOT would be kind of in an oversight role of that congressionally directed
And
spending.
that's for both the Washington piece and the Oregon.
Yeah, originally we got two. We got 4 million from both. Washington had agreed to put their portion over to Oregon. The states, so they didn't have to do the additional oversight.
Right.
They wanted to put it in with the infra. It was going to make it easier for everyone to do that. Because of the timing of everything, it's now become something that we want to go ahead and split, and ODOT has said, yes, okay, they're willing to take a role in that and have given that okay to FHWA. Right now, we were just waiting to see if OST, we wanted to get a formal answer from OST. We may have to make the decision without a formal answer from OST and just say, hey, split it out. We'd rather have it split.
So Federal Highways knows that we've awarded the design contract and we're proceeding with design.
Yes, absolutely.
Do they know that we at least need the 8 million to be able to finish?
They do. And finished design is a little bit, we finished phase 1B, I would say.
Right.
Yes, in order to finish all of the elements of phase 1B, we need the CDS, and they're aware of that. And that's why we've talked to them about splitting it out.
Okay, so
we can get to our RFC set of plans.
We wind ourselves up that we don't really need the 200 million.
We do not.
But we need the 8 million.
We do. And that's to finish some of the final elements.
Do the right away.
Right away and some of your MOA stuff and that funding.
Does it make sense for us to have a discussion with them that says, okay, we'll give up on the 80 million or 70 million of it. We need the 8 and please proceed forward.
So we've had that discussion with them. They thought that it was going to go to OST already. It hasn't because it's stuck somewhere in their process. So we were going to give them to November to get it through to OST to get a formal response from OST. Well, we're at November and it doesn't look like they're going to make that. So we're going to go back to them and say, okay, let's go to plan B, go ahead and start the process of splitting the CDS funding out now because we don't want to wait. We wanted to give ourselves plenty of time to make sure that that money made it through the process of splitting it out. So we kind of set a date of November as being a date we would start that. So
being slightly on the negative side, they know that we don't need the 200 million. It's just a delay tactic. To release the 8.
I don't think it is because we weren't looking to get the 200. We were only looking to get 75 million.
No, I mean, even that, the 75 plus the 80.
Yes, but yeah, I really don't think that's where they're at with it. They're just
It is what it is, and we need access to the 8, and we are now to November, and you're looking for us to say, yes, go try to get the $8 million.
We were going to do that in November no matter what. I mean, we were planning to do that.
Go forth and do good work.
Okay. So anyway, just that's where we are with the Empress, so that everybody's aware of it. We'll start moving forward with the CDS. And then the last thing is just the financial report on the tolling.
Which the good news is we're at what, 7 points.
Debbie. Hi, Debbie.
She on?
Yes.
She on? Maybe.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yep, we sure can.
Yes, you have money.
That's great.
Yep.
How
Any
much?
other questions about it specifically? You'll be 8 million next month because it's usually a little over 3 million. I mean, I'm sorry, 300,000. per month. And so next month you'll hit that next milestone of 8 million.
So since we have the newspapers in the room, can you tell us, are we on track where we were budgeting for how much we're getting per month?
We're not where we were budgeting, but we're still looking good. Our budget was higher than what we would need for the TIFIA loan. So we're still on track for where we wanted to be to get a reserve for the TIFIA loan.
Remind me, what was our target for the TIFIA? Was it
15.
15 is what I remember.
Yeah, and we are going to have to, at some point when we get a better schedule, we are going to have to go back and revisit that and make sure that that's still our number. But yes, 15 is our number.
And what are we currently getting on interest in terms of percentage?
4.5. It was 4.6 last month and they just lowered it to 4.5.
Oh, great.
If interest rates go up, then the amount that we need also goes up. So we may get money faster, but we need more.
Well,
Is that correct?
we hope that interest rates drop right before we do the 50 loan, and it's high right now is what our goal is. We gotta hit it just right. Go in both directions.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome.
Great news, great numbers. It was in my account. Okay, upcoming action items, anything that we need to discuss?
The main one is for your November 24th meeting. We're gonna have our section 106 folks come in and talk to you about the mitigation efforts that need to happen. Just kind of walk through the timing of some of those, the purpose behind some of them, and how they're phasing some of it, because we don't need to do all of them right away, but there are some that we do need to do right away. So I've asked them to come in and update you all on that, because there is a lot of mitigation on this project. And I just want to make sure you guys are staying aware of what's going on with that.
Okay, sounds like a great conversation. Anything else on that list?
Yeah.
All right. We have no presentations. Upcoming events, we don't have anything scheduled that anybody's going to.
We are reaching out to the locals. Dan's working with Amy to get some dates. We're going to start setting project updates now that we're in design and progressing things. We want to get back out to the locals and cities and counties and start doing some of the presentations. We've a couple coming up in November. So just we'll be reaching out and seeing who's available, or if you want to attend or go to them, or if you want us to cover them, happy to do that. But we'll start letting you know about those.
Michael Shannon is speaking at the Society of American Military Engineers Portland post-November meeting. So there are stuff that's scheduled.
Yeah, and there's one with Kevin with the Rotary. Kevin, is that right?
Yes, that's right. I need to follow up with you on that. You got that date on your calendar then?
Yes, it was November 15th or 13th, one of the two, whatever one's the Thursday.
Perfect. And you're coming, right, Michael?
I am, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, our next meeting will be Monday, November 10th from 2 to 4 here. With that, is there anything else for the good of the order from board members? Hearing none, we will close this meeting. Thank you all for being online, and thank you all for coming, especially our newspaper reporters. Have a great day, everyone.